got it labelled and stuff, and because I know it. So even if I don't know exactly the box file, I'll know roughly where it is.
Right.
It's as I said in the film. I mean, well, not said in the film, but you know, it's this film was possible because I got all the material. You know, it's
Do you got it in your toilet like Donald Trump had all the FBI stuff?
What a horrible image! No. It's most of it is in my office, which very handily in this new house had a actually one of the reasons we bought the house, because I walked into what was a bedroom and it was a big built-in wardrobe. And I went, oh, hello, archive. Some of it's in the loft, but the most important stuff is with me, and it's next to my bedroom. So if there's ever a fire, that's the first room I'll put out. So I'm not going to say where, but I have done a new will in the last year, and so it will be going to a very good, safe home once I am no longer here. Not for a very long time, we hope. So, and then that will be completely publicly accessible. And it's not just the archive stuff, it's all my private papers and stuff like that. Because the only trouble is, every time I do a film or a show or a book or something, I create another bloody archive. So it's like, and I'm doing my Clement Stane biography at the moment, so that's a whole other thing. So
we'll get a plug-in for that later.
Oh, yeah, well, maybe. But it's I can't tell you why I started collecting this stuff. In 1978, I was sort of I knew I was gay, and what a surprise. I think some of you might be shocked to know that. I was really, wanted to be a singer-songwriter, and I'd been to Secretarial College and trained as a secretary to do temp secretarial work so that I could, pay for demo tapes and all that and buy equipment and stuff like that. And being a temp secretary in those days was really boring because mostly they just put you and sit you behind a desk, and there wasn't anything to do. They didn't like the thought, or we can't have the secretary's desk vacant because it looks like the person she's working for isn't important. So I would buy about 3 newspapers a day right across the spectrum, and I just started clipping things that of interest, particularly about being gay. I mean, most of it was quite negative, but it was. And I just kept it, and I mean, I don't come from a family of historians or anything like that, and also didn't keep souvenirs. But I suppose, I don't know, it just felt special to me at the time, and so I just gradually kept keeping stuff. I would start going to shows at the Oval House Theatre in 1979, and I would keep the programmes. I can't tell you why. It was just this whole magic new world to me. And I just kept souvenirs and mementos, and it just kept growing, it just grew like Topsy. And 45 years later, it's a wonderful thing. And I use it for work all the time, because people are there saying, oh, why don't you donate it? So I said, excuse me, I'm using it tomorrow. And also I'm building it. It's a live archive. I'm still clipping newspapers and stuff like that.
And if I could just come in there, the moral of this is you've all got bits of history in your attics and in your cupboards,
Exactly.
and for God's sake, don't throw it away now. We never realised at the time, except for Rose, that we were making history.
Yeah.
And so I haven't kept anything, and I'm kicking myself now.
Mm-hmm.
So please do go through your archives, or what are actually archives, though you don't realise it, and get them out and send them to, or take them to somewhere like the Bishopsgate Institute in Liverpool Street, because it's all valuable. And maybe it's there already, but they won't know that until they see yours as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I throw it open to another question. Oh, hello. I can't.
Mic coming. Do you want the microphone? Firstly, I wanted to say thank you so much for being absolutely legendary and for the work that you've done. It must be acknowledged.
Well, also, thank you.
And the main question actually was, once the case was dropped, was there an experience of feedback by lunatic homophobes or crazy trolls? Was there a pushback against the dropping of the case that you experienced?
Not that I remember. Do you
What
remember
you
that?
must remember, of course, is that this was basically the first action of a whole wave of stuff through the 80s, AIDS panic, and all the stuff about sending people off to the Isle of Man, putting them in quarantine and all that stuff. And then, of course, Section 28 after that as well. So this was it was like a tide. coming towards us to drown us. And this was the kind of the first wave. And then there was the second wave with the AIDS panic. And then there was Section 28. And it was not a good time to be campaigning for LGBT rights.
But we had a good time doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely, absolutely.
It's
and I sort of wonder how much worse it would have been if we hadn't been campaigning.
yeah. But also, if you're campaigning or fighting or whatever, or resisting, whatever you want to call it in language, you've got to maintain the moral high ground. Because when this happened, we could have, burnt the customs office down. We could have threatened the staff. We could have, vandalised their cars. We didn't. What we did, we reacted legally and with wit and creativity and peace. And we won. That was the important thing. So it's right to be angry. There's nothing wrong with that. But you've got to, maintain your moral high ground and think a bit laterally. And also somebody was making the point, I had a couple of conversations about this, we did get the age of consent equalised for gay men. We did get protections so people wouldn't get fired from their jobs for being gay. We did get Section 28 removed. We did save gays the word, but it didn't happen like that. And some of it took a very, very long time, and as frustrating, as irritating as that is, but we kept at it, and we kept at it, and we kept at it, and we won, because right was on our side. But you have got to, it's not about dignity, it's that, we are right, and we'll get there, but it ain't going to happen overnight. And I think the trouble is that younger activists or whatever think you sign an e-petition, and it's going to change overnight. And it was really interesting to see some of these young people watch that and kind of go, actually, yeah. So that's what I would say. I don't have all the answers, but that is my general advice. Because we see where we're not keeping the moral high ground gets you, and it's not pretty.
Can I just add something to that? Which is, I think one of the lessons is, and it's an old lesson going right back to the Gay Liberation Front, which is our opponents have no sense of humour. The one thing that freaks them out is if you send them up and take the piss out of them. They cannot deal with that at all. And the second thing that comes out of the film to me is the importance of a real close-knit community. And I think that's something that's lost these days a lot because of fragmentation, because of the internet, because people don't meet in the same kind of ways. So many gay pubs have gone, for example. And I think it's a desperate, crying need to love each other, cherish each other, laugh with each other, and create that community again. I really do.
Probably won't happen in our lifetime, but, we'll see. Oh, gosh, they're all coming thick and fast. Yeah, you know. I think they got most of the titles back. There were only a few that were. I mean, obviously I didn't have time to cover, but they got. In fact, most of the titles came back straight away. But there was some that they kept around, and that was the basis of the charges. I don't think they got compensation. I'm pretty sure on that.
No, they didn't.
No.
And the reason that the charges was dropped was they had a change of the head honcho.
That's right.
At Customs and Excise. And it was obviously the campaign against gays of the word was the bee in the bonnet of one particular homophobe within Customs and Excise, extremely high up, who could actually have that power to... Barry, do you know something about this? Sorry, I think you need a microphone, please.
We have a raving mic. Sorry, a roving mic. Thank you.
Introduce yourself, Barry. Introduce yourself, because you were involved against the word.
What helped the campaign was that just before the Gays the Word trial was due to come to court, there'd been a case where a sex shop owner had been importing some blow-up dolls from Holland, and he was about to go to, in fact, I believe that he actually went to court, but he got off because they'd imported the stuff from Holland, and under the terms of membership of the EU, they were allowed free movement of trade. And that's why Customs and Excise dropped the charges against Gaze the Word, because some of the titles that they had seized were from the EU. Now, the charges were dropped, and as far as I'm aware, there have never been any changes made to the law, so everything's still the same.
What a scary thought.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, if I could just add something else. Now, I was, because I was involved in the campaign, one of the things that we had great difficulty with was actually getting the money in. Especially bar owners, they would, always announcing benefits without speaking to us. And trying to keep track of all these benefits and get the money from them was difficult. And one of the worst was heaven.
What a surprise.
Oh, I actually had to threaten to go to the press to get the money that they had raised. Anyway.
Thank you. Yeah. Palm myself.
Sorry, yeah, microphone, please.
We got 'em.
Yes. You're not talking just to us, you're talking to everybody out there.
As I watched the film, I'd assumed that you'd gone to Bishopsgate and this had all been in Bishopsgate, because this is where we generally put our stuff from our clubs from that sort of era. And good on you for keeping all that. I mean, I've tried to put bits that I've got into Bishopsgate. Have you been to see what they've got that you've got? Have you ever compared the two things?
No. I mean, we've had discussions. I mean, it's you see, the thing is, my archive, it's a professional and a private archive. Mm-hmm. So it's all my professional papers and everything, as well as the collections of stuff. So it's a kind of it's a very personal kind of one, but it does reflect not just my 48 years of my history, the last 48 years of my history, but a community, but also different things. I mean, there's all sorts of things, and there's things about, politics through the 70s, 80s. I've got stuff about all the elections. I've got, benefits that Peter and I were involved with, shows I went, Fringe Theatre shows that I was involved with and stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't really matter what they've got there, because nobody is going to have what I've got in its entirety, and that's what they love about what I do, and that's what makes it totally unique. So it doesn't matter, I mean, I approached the LSE about possibly donating it when I was gone, and they were very sniffy. And they were kind of going, oh, well, what you want us to have your library books, what the titles do they include? And I felt like saying fucking Mills and Boon, I mean, seriously. And they were kind of going, oh, well, some of your cuttings might duplicate ours. How do you feel about us weeding us out? I go fucking weed yourself, seriously. So that didn't go anywhere. It was, so Bishopsgate is unique in itself, because it really, it recognises not the commercial value, but the historical value of individual
and it recognises the integrity of collections as well, individual collections.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so there's no comparison. It doesn't matter.
From my memories and whatever, I mean, people were not that interested in this 10, 20 years ago. But in my group, there are some quite younger people in their 20s and 30s who are really interested in the history, back in the 70s, back in the 80s. And this is a fairly new thing.
Sorry, Jonathan, could you say in my group? I just wondered which group. Would you like to talk about your group?
These are leather groups and things like that. Yes. And an interesting one of our groups, the uniform group, put all their archive in the LSE, and then it was sort of lost and nobody got to it. And
there you go.
We did spend quite a bit of time getting it out of there and get it transferred to Bishopsgate to go with all the others. Yeah. So, I'm a great supporter of Bishopsgate, and
I've done events there, and I've, it's a fantastic place. Yeah. Fantastic place.
But I say, a great historical document.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There was I saw some other arms going up. Or perhaps not. Perhaps they were drowning, not waving, yes.
This isn't a question, it's just to say thank you. I thought it was really wonderful because I do think it's terribly important that this history is not forgotten, but also what you managed to capture, and I think young people are now fascinated by, is what you said, the creativity of what we did in the 80s. We weren't just angry. Yes, we were angry, but we found creative ways of fighting and winning. So thank you, Rose.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, it was. You can probably tell. We had a great time. I mean, I've known Peter and Fee and Linda for over 40 years, and it was really lovely to work with them. And
I still think of you as that nice young bouncy puppy who was who was such a brilliant interviewer in Framed Youth in 1983.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, yeah. I couldn't do that now. My God. Excuse me, sir. Do you know what a lesbian is? No way. It's the courage of youth when you don't know what you're doing. I mean, people watch that and say, God, weren't you scared? I went, no. You know, bloody freezing cold February morning in Ridley Road Market, and everybody was, that's how Rose will do it. All right. I had a riot making it. I mean, it was after getting turned down by the Arts Council, not once, but twice, for that stupid so-called reason. I did go down a very deep, dark hole for some weeks. I mean, I lived with clinical depression my whole life, but when you get kicked in the arse like that, it really... And you go through a confidence crisis, you think, is this a crap idea? No, it's a really good idea. No, I can make this really well. People need to hear these stories. You can make it, you're the only one that can make it. And so somebody said to me, well, try a bit of crowdfunding. And I said, the trouble is people have hardly got any money. But it was amazing that people did come up with a little bit of money, but I wasn't able to pay my contributors. All I could do was take them out for lunch. It was ridiculous. And, I suppose I shouldn't diss other filmmakers, but, I've seen some of the stuff that's been trotted out to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Pride and all that. I know the type of documentary I'd rather see. And all of those documentary makers tried to get me involved, and they wanted my footage and they wanted my archives, and I went, my history, my archive, my stories, my films, not yours. And that's going to continue. I mean, I don't know when I'm going to make another film because it's all about funding. Plus, I'm writing this magnum opus book.
Tell us about it, Rose.
Oh, no. I've been trying to not write it, on and off for like 15 years. It's the biography of Clement Stane. If you want to know more about her, go to my website. There's a whole section. I don't have a contract for it. I don't even have an agent at the moment. But she was an absolutely astonishing woman. I got approached by the Literary Estate 15 years ago to write it, and it's been on and off and on and off. And then I was at a Noel Coward conference in Birmingham in the summer. Oh, I went Birmingham. And I met the wonderful Oliver Soden, who's done the new Noel Coward biography, and he's been so supportive. And he just, I said, oh God, I can't get an agent. I've got the synopsis, and he just looked me straight in the eye. I said, Rose, write it. If you can do it, write it. Don't waste any more time trying to get an agent with a synopsis. They want bloody full manuscripts now. And I thought, well, I don't know. And I went home and I thought, you know what? He's dead right. He's dead right. And so, having decided to do that, I thought, right, I have to get the film and everything, and I started work on it, and I'm now having a blast doing that. And I've come up with a really unusual format, and so I'm working on that until the spring, and then hopefully get an agent and a publisher for that. But I can't keep doing for films reliant on friends and supporters putting their hands in their pockets. I don't know why people don't fund more documentaries like this. I would like to say it's always been us, but that's not true, because Channel 4 used to commission a lot of stuff, and they don't anymore. But then they've lost their soul anyway. Sorry guys, but no, they have a bit, and they've lost their way. And so I'll have to see where I am in the spring, as it were, hopefully still alive and well. And
can I just ask, have you got any other bees in your bonnet about subjects that you'd really like to film if you could?
Well, I have, but I'm not going to disclose them in public because because a friend of mine, fellow indie filmmaker, she apparently, I can't remember when it was, 6 months ago or a year, she mentioned to another filmmaker some idea, and then she just found out this fucking woman's made her film. She nicked her idea. And so I've got lots of ideas. Again, it's all emanating from the archive. So but it's not just my story, it's about a lot of different things that haven't been done. And they certainly haven't been done in the way that I would make them, because I decided once I became this indie filmmaker, which is a huge surprise to me, because it only started 2.5 years ago, and because of the pandemic, I decided that I wanted to have my own tone. You know, I'm not saying it would be like Nick Broomfield, but you know, a Nick Broomfield documentary is it's Nick Broomfield, and people like Jim Sheridan, who made the wonderful documentary series Murder at the Cottage. You know, it's people that are sort of involved in it, and they're very much part of it. I'm not into sort of, you know, I mean, there's so many documentaries of them. I mean, I really hate those documentaries, she says, where you see an interview, he comes on, and they pin the microphone on, and they show you the cameras and the lights and everything, and then they do the clapperboard. It's like, what a waste! Just tell the fucking stories. You know, and it's an insult to audiences. You know how films are made. You don't need to be shown all that. And they always seem to be filmed against really black backgrounds, and oh God, it drives me up the wall. So, you know, I want to make my films in the way that I've made the first two. So they're not about me per se, but I'm there. I'm there. I'm like a Molly Deneen or a Nick Broomfield or a Jim Sheridan, and that's the way I'm going to keep making them. I'm not going to resort to just trotting out the ordinary documentary, because what's the point? There are plenty of people to do that, but I don't know what you do about funding. I don't know where you go from here. As I say, everything's on hold in that department until the spring, and then we'll see where I am. I mean, I don't even get my state pension for another 2 bloody years. So I can't even, you know, it's ludicrous. But I mean, yeah, I've got a lot of ideas. The ideas is never the problem. It's the funding, it's the time. And I'm 64 now, and the clock's ticking. And you think, well, how many? I've really got to prioritise what it is I do, because you just don't know. So at the moment, the priority is the Clement Stein biography, and then after that, we'll see. But I tell you, I mean, the irony is that I would never have become a filmmaker if the pandemic hadn't put the kibosh on my new stage show. But that was also, that was going to be called 40 Years Out and Counting, True Stories from the Archive. And so that turned into my first film, The Boy and the Bear, which is on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, I've got my YouTube channel. And then this film, because the more people I told about this thing called the Maupin Marathon, they went, what? Armistead Maupin, and they said, well, what is that? And I told them, I go, oh my God, that's fantastic, I didn't know about that. And I thought, And, you know, I knew that Peter and Fee and Linda would come on board and contribute. And it was, well, I don't know about you, I just had the best time making it. It was great.
It was a lovely afternoon. It was great.
Just great spending time with you guys. I went up to Scotland to film Linda, and that was, I mean, you know, the chickens had to be in it because they're little stars in their own right. And then I just had the best time editing it. Honestly, I've really become a bit of an editing nerd. Ros and I were talking about this. I just love editing. And I you know, having this sort of digital software to play with. It's like when Orson Welles went to Hollywood for the first time, he said it was the best box of toys anyone could ever have given him, because it was like, oh, I wonder what that does. Oh, I'll try that. Oh, what about that? Oh, and with me, it was exactly the same. And because it's digital, it didn't matter. So if it wasn't quite right, you didn't like it, you wanted to change it, delete. And yeah, I mean, so obviously, yeah, I do want to make more. I want to keep telling these stories, and yeah, from not my point of view, but with my tone, with my own tone on it, because what's the point? I mean, Derek Jarman, he was being interviewed for an omnibus, I think it was. And the interviewer said to him, there really isn't much difference between your life and the films. And Derek was going, well, no, none at all. That's the whole point. You know, well, why would I, you know, he said, there's no point making films unless it's got some. And I thought, oh, I like that. And that's what I seem to have, you know, I didn't set out with the intention of doing that, but that's what I'm doing. And that's, you know, I've done it once and I've done it twice. And I keep getting all these awards, which is surreal.
I think that's a cue, isn't it?
I think it probably is, because we
right,
probably need
yes.
to wrap up. But before we have that, I have something for you.
For me?
Yes.
What have I done this time?
What have I done? Well, you've been an absolute legend yourself over so many years, I think people would agree. And there was just a little present for you. As seen in the film, and I know you probably haven't got this, but also the first thing you saw when you went into Gaze the Word.
Oh, copy of Gaze the Word music. Isn't that wonderful? Thank you so much.
That's with my love.
Thank you so much,
That's with my love. And my thanks. Because Peter, my God, there you are. I could make a whole film about you.
Oh, wow.
50 plus years of activism, some of the biggest and best benefits ever, which I've been privileged to be a part of.
Yeah.
And there's an idea.
The thing I relish most about Rose's performances was I did a version of The Wizard of Oz a few years ago called Dorothy's Travels, and this was Toto. Isn't she a Toto?
I'm a Toto something.
Anyway, thank you for that. I'm now going to return the compliment. I just want to say a few words about an organisation called the International Lesbian and Gay Culture Network, which is based in Stockholm. The leading figure is a guy called Bill Schiller, who's a retired architect. And for 30 years, they've been acknowledging LGBT artists of all kinds, recognising the way that culture is a kind of central binding agent to our community and to our ideas of ourselves. It started off with local, i.e. Scandinavian artists. One of the first people who got it was Tove Jansson, who did the Moomin books and the wonderful Winter Story and Summer Story as well, about older lesbians. I've got a list here of people who've had it. They've broadened it from those kind of things a bit. Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu got one for their support for LGBT rights in South Africa. The Museum of Auschwitz got one for information, putting information in about the LGBT experience in concentration camps at Auschwitz, for listing all categories of prisoners. Amnesty International, when they adopted LGBT prisoners of conscience. The first openly gay Ukrainian soldier as well. And the person who founded the International Day Against Homophobia, Idaho Day. Tom of Finland Foundation. So they spread the net, their definition of culture, fairly widely. Barbara Hammer, another pioneering American lesbian filmmaker. And Peter Tatchell, because he has to get one of everything. And of course me, 2 years ago for a marathon set of readings. But now, and about time too, it's Rose's turn. And because she's a Renaissance woman, she does so many things. She does writing and performing on the one hand and the filmmaking on the other. And she's got 2 awards, one for each. So I'm going to present them to her. Individually. The main problem is they look very pretty at a distance, but you absolutely can't read them. So... Yes, it is. Now that's the ribbon. That's the film one. That's for the Boy and the Bear, and for one for the books. So there you are. They're rather pretty, aren't they? They're rather nice. They're rather nicely framed, though I say it myself. Okay. And the other one is for her writing and performing. And what it says is for outstanding literary reclamation of historically marginalised LGBT lives, and through her books and through her performances. So there's the other one, the Clio Award. Congratulations, couldn't have gone to a nicer person.